I'm joined now by Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be
You
with you.
are,
We make a comment. I noticed we both have American flags. Two patriots rocking together. So thanks for having me on.
that's a good week to be flying the colors. Thanksgiving week, a big week for travel. And you've been sitting in this position, 20th Department of Transportation Secretary in U.S. history, but you've been busy. This has not been a back post, and you made some waves earlier, a few days ago, by calling for civility and a return to acting like a human on an airline and being treated well and the rise in violence. But so it has seemed to me, as a pretty frequent flyer, that things have gotten worse over the last couple of years, that there's been more physical disturbances, that there have been more violent incidents. I was involved in restraining a passenger who attacked a stewardess myself, that was not how it seemed to be when I was younger. And I'm not talking about when I was a kid. I'm talking about in my 20s and early 30s. It didn't seem like that. Has it actually changed?
Yeah, we've seen the data increase for these incidents where we're having altercations or incidents with people on airplanes. And I think you're right. I mean, I've been putting out these videos that's a call back to the 50s and 60s when there were
Yeah.
three-piece suits and top hats on. I'm not asking for that, but I think I don't know if it happened during COVID. I don't know if it happened with the TSA and the long lines and or airlines having us all crammed in really tight together. I think it's a confluence of things that have come together that have caused people as they get on airplanes to be less civil to each other. And I mean, there's videos that are not just fights, but videos of people taking their feet off and putting them on the seat in front of them, or
Oh,
moving
yeah.
their TV screen on the back seat with their toes. I've had people on airplanes just start playing their movie out loud without earphones on. I mean, things that just aren't respectful for the traveling public with us. And I don't know where we put the blame, but I want to have a conversation with America that says, listen, let's call our better angels. Let's all be better when we travel together. Let's dress more respectfully. Let's be nicer to one another. Let's say please and thank you. One of my pet peeves is getting on an airplane and you see a woman, because again, there's a difference between men and women. Usually men are stronger than women. And if a woman is struggling to put her bag up in the overhead bin, or even a pregnant woman is trying to put a bag in the overhead bin, why don't men stand up and help? They see this woman struggling. I think we can be better humans, better Americans, better travelers if we pay more attention to our surroundings and to our fellow Americans as we get on airplanes and move through the airspace.
I mean, the casualness of airline travel has definitely gone up. I landed at Dallas Fort Worth for a business meeting just a few weeks ago, and I'd spilled on the airline getting out the door at 5 in the morning, or on my pants, and there was not a single menswear clothing store anywhere in the Dallas Fort Worth airport, but there were two places dedicated to selling neck pillows. And I thought, I'm writing a magazine article about it for our magazine Frontier, about this kind of change that you've seen in the way people travel. And you know what? You have to wonder, what came first? Did people start kind of acting more like animals because they were treated more like animals? Or did the airline crews have to crack down and treat people like that because of the actions they were seeing?
I
There was an
thought,
obvious breakdown during COVID.
yeah, I thought you were going to talk about airlines, but for a second I thought you were going to talk about the culture of podcasting. I mean, we used to wear suits and ties, and here I show up in a non-shirt and tie, no jacket, as we're talking about dressing respectfully. But no, listen, I think I don't know what came first, but you're right. I mean, when I see people travel, I mean, again, I get being comfortable. We like being we're an era where people don't wear suits as much anymore. They don't wear ties as much anymore. Maybe that's a bygone era to when we were younger. I still wear a suit and tie when I go to work. Um,
Yeah.
some people don't even go to work, but when they do go, they dress for comfort. When they travel, they want to dress for comfort, and I get that. I want to be comfortable too. But at some point, we can't dress like we're going to bed. We have our PJs on and our slippers, and we're like going to nestle in like we're going to bed. Now, actually, no, we're going out in public. And I think when we don't dress respectfully, sometimes that can lead to people not treating each other respectfully. And so, but I do think there is, as I mentioned earlier, I do think, we saw COVID really progressed in the way people had to wear masks. Something happened there where I think where flight attendants had to be these enforcers on masks, and there was this confrontation, and just I think people just didn't behave as well during that time frame because I think our government didn't behave well, and then they forced our airlines not to behave well and treat travelers with respect. And I think that was the start of the slide. Maybe it was built in before, but that's when we really saw it come out. And now's the time to say let's let that be a bygone era. Let's move to a
Yeah.
new era where we do things differently.
On the tie, I think that President Obama did to the tie what John F. Kennedy did to the hat, the top hat. It's just he didn't wear one very often, and it became kind of part of elite fashion. And now you'll see people in multi-thousand-dollar sweatsuits, but you'll almost never see someone in a tie. Now, more has changed also in airlines, and this I've talked to stewardesses and flight crews about, airline attendants. You'll be getting on a plane. I'm getting on a plane with my family in a few hours for Thanksgiving travel. And folks, as opposed to working on their laptops, holding their kids, reading a book, full-grown adults will put on their juicy sweatpants and their Hello Kitty neck pillow, close the window so it's pitch black in there, and curl up with their shoes off. Don't they work anymore? Why is the airline in the middle of a Monday afternoon pitch black? Have you seen that change as well?
Yeah, and again, I think we have, and that could be a sign of a good thing. I don't know. Maybe with
Unplugged.
flexibility with work, you can say, listen, I don't want to work on the airplane. I do have the kids with me, and I want to chill out and watch a movie, or I want to sleep. And I have the flexibility at work where when I get in, I would rather work tonight when I get in and I'm at my computer and I feel like I can
Yeah.
dial in. Work that. I mean, that could also be a sign of something that's really beneficial for a balance of when you can get your work done. I don't know, but yeah, there was a time when the business traveler was, trying to be as productive as possible while they're in the air. Now, there's a time when we didn't have, internet connections on the plane, so people might be writing, offline. But with today, I mean, with high speed internet on airplanes, man, it's like you're sitting in your office. You can get a ton of work done, and usually, I don't know if you notice it, no one's going to bother me. But for a stewardess or a flight attendant coming by and saying, "Hey, do you want a water or a coffee?" Or, by the way, I would love some better snacks. I would love a little healthier snack on the airplane. Maybe that could change it all. If I didn't get the really fat cookie, like fattening cookie full of just like butter and sugar and crap, or the little snack pack of pretzels that are really like, could we do something? But I think airlines should embrace a little maha as well. Could you get a healthy choice
Yes.
on the airplane? That might go a long way when they come and disrupt me while I'm working on the plane.
Yeah, bring Maha to airlines, and airlines, for some reason, it's treated as confidential material that's not shared, the size of the airline bathrooms. And everyone knows they've gotten smaller. I mean, when we were teenagers, there used to be or younger people, there used to be a thing that would say, like, you could try to make out with your girlfriend or whatever in the airline bathroom. You get into a certain club. I don't know how the heck you'd fit another person into that airline bathroom. Maybe that was it. Maybe they wanted to cut down on people going in together.
Uh, So, so on that, like, sometimes you can't even turn around in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
You can't, like, you can't.
Back in and back out.
I mean, they're that tight, and that's a really good point because some you have a little bigger bathroom, some are like little you can't turn around, and some people that are a little heavier, I don't know how they actually use them. Um, but I mean, I think it's a balance for the airlines, right? So what's the airline trying to do? The airline's trying to put, a lot of people on an airplane, sell as many tickets as possible. And by doing that, they're able to reduce the cost of travel and make it affordable for more people, right? So they're, and then, but then you feel like you're cargo, and you felt like cargo before you got to, to the airplane. You felt like cargo as you went through TSA, which, by the way, Christy, Noam, and I have talked about this. But what do we have to do with TSA to make people feel more American as they go through? By the way, and I don't do the face scan, I don't do the eye scan. Like, I have real issues
Me
with
neither.
the government gathering data on us, and I'm part of the government at a very high level. I don't like that. But how do we make it more American, more humane, and easier to get through TSA? She just announced a $1 billion investment. I haven't unpacked that yet, but if we could get through, and be treated more humanely, and let families get through together. I mean, if I don't know if you've gone through with kids, going through TSA with kids is challenging, and especially if you have a lot of kids and they were taking shoes off and putting bags on, and I'm throwing bags, and then I mean it's a whole herd of trying to get them through the scanners, then to put their shoes back on and get the bags off. I mean, it's just the whole thing just feels like it's not very respectful, and maybe if people don't feel like they're respected, they then don't respect the people around them.
Yeah, you need two parents basically when you're traveling, especially with toddlers, because you need one to lead from the front and then one in the back to make sure when you all go through that secure area or you all get on that escalator, one of them doesn't just stand there. And you're going down, you're looking up saying, "Hey, you 5-year-old, get on the escalator." And before you know it, you're a hostage to them.
You got to
So how do
bookend.
you
That's right,
how
bookend
do you
it.
fix this? Because consequences are severe and airlines already. I mean, I remember during the height of ritualistic humiliation during COVID, like, you have to stand up one person at a time to prevent us all from dying of COVID when you're deplaning or this or that. It was stupid, but I listened because I knew that if I acted up on an airline, and I don't mind acting up in general, I'll crack a beer in the grocery store line if it's long, not don't cause trouble for other people, but I take the rules so seriously in airlines because they'll ban me for life from flying. So how do you return to that? Is it just a call, or if I owned an airline, I'd have a dress code. Not for women, but for men. And then if you do a dress code for men, women generally follow because they're much more fashionable than we are. And then the whole thing might seem to come together a little bit better. But what's the trick to fixing this cultural issue on airlines?
Is there a silver bullet on it? I don't think there is. And I think these airlines have to look at their business models and say, do I want to put a dress code in, or do I want to have minimum standards as people travel on my airline? They could do that, and they might charge a premium for those who have an airline that is not going to tolerate some of these other issues that are tolerated right now. That could be a business model. I don't want to force that on them, but what I want to do is have a conversation with America. Let's all be better. Let's do better. Let's actually respect not just ourselves, our families, our fellow travelers. It's almost a respect for America itself, right? This is respecting your country, is how you engage in public. And I don't know if this even falls back to, is this really the airline's problem? Because you'll see these videos of what kids are doing in school and the fights that they're having, or what happens on the streets of America with the fights, or I don't know what they're called when they all get into an intersection, they got their cars and they're all whipping
Oh
their
yeah.
shitties, whatever what I don't even know, the donuts. I mean, I don't know what's going on in the culture. So this is one space that falls under my department, which is why I want to focus on that and say we could all have a way better experience. We can lead as Americans and be better humans. And then, we should have a conversation. Secretary Noem has to say, well, what's my role? What's my role? I'm gonna have a conversation with the airlines about what is your role as well. And maybe to your point, if our airlines had less tolerance for this behavior, I mean, again, no tolerance. Anyone acts up, there's a consequence for, again, taking your shoes off and putting it on the passenger in front of you. Even you see the videos of someone wears a Make America Great Again hat, and they're being confronted on an airplane. I'm like, I'm sorry. There are things that you can complain about as a passenger, and there's certain things you can't complain about. And someone's political messaging is on their clothing, that's not it. That's not in the realm of what you can complain about when you travel. And we're just going to have less tolerance for bad behavior.
No, you're pressed for time. I'd love to have you back with my colleague Daniel Turner, my friend and colleague Daniel Turner, to talk about some of the golden age of travel and the best kind of airline cocktails and why ginger ale seems to taste better. But
Why is that?
before
Ginger ale does taste better on an airplane.
altitude, it must be. It's got to be science somewhere.
Yeah, well, the elevation and the ginger and the ale and the ice might come together. When I come back and talk to you too, I want to talk to you. You mentioned that this is going to be the busiest Thanksgiving travel ever. And what's interesting is every Thanksgiving and Christmas, we talk about it's the busiest. And it is because more people fly. Our airspace is becoming busier. And when you have a busier airspace, a lot of times you'll see that there's more delays and more cancellations. There is an answer to that. We have to modernize our airspace, modernize our air traffic control system. You probably know this. I've asked for $31.5 billion. But until we get the rest of the money, and Congress give me the rest of the money, and until we fix that, you're not going to see the reduction in the delays and the cancellations. And that's part of it too. You know, if you sit in an airplane for 2.5 hours before you take off, people get ornery. Or if you're circling above your airport before you land, that makes people ornery. So let's make it all better. And I have a role in that. But Congress does too. And if they give us the rest of the money, we are going to move what I'd call lickety split to actually get this done and change the experience of the traveler, make their time on an airplane far less because there's more efficiency. You can go from point A to point B. You take off, you land, you fly directly there. A system that works way better can make the experience and probably the attitude of the traveler way better as well. So we could talk more about that, what that plan looks like, as well as ginger ale and what we wear, and whether it's roads and bridges. I'd love that conversation because a lot's happening at DOT.
And just one more question for you is to consider. Now, if we're good, Americans are good, and we become more civilized and we're on our best behavior, I know you can't bring back smoking lounges in the airlines, but maybe allow us to bring our own nips on there on the airline once again. If we're good, then we can bring our own liquor bottles back to the airline travel because I miss those from the pre-COVID days. Maybe it was never legal, but now it's a very specific announcement.
Well, that point, maybe we should bring back smoking lounges. Just think if you and I could be on a flight together, like, hey, let's leave the kids alone for a second. Let's go grab a smoke. Maybe we'll have a cigar, and we'll have a stiff drink, and like we'll all be far more relaxed. Maybe that's.
I think that sounds great.
Wait, now libs are going to pull this clip and go, Duffy wants to have smoking lounges back on airlines. They'll pull the clip and they lose their minds over a fun conversation. But I don't mind it. That could be one of the airlines should promote that. We have certain flights where the smoking lounge is back.
That would be beautiful.
Too.
Yeah, make America healthy again and add nicotine to it. I think that's an important message. We were a proper country once. Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for joining us and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Hey, you too. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me.